everybody. This is the PodcASSt podcast, and I am your host, PodcASSt Craig. This is episode 10, and in this episode, I get to introduce all of you to Brett Kent of KST Kustoms. I first met Brett and a couple of his in-laws close to a decade ago in Daytona Beach while there for Bike Week. This was right after KST Kustoms was founded in 2012 by Brett's family. At that time, I got to know not only him, but his father-in-law Sid and brother-in-law Rhett. Almost instantly, we all became friends and we continued seeing each other at various events throughout the country. We'll touch more on KST later because, as all of you know, this podcast is about introducing you to the people and friends that I have in the motorcycle industry. This brings us back to Brett, so let's get to his story. Brett's married to his high school sweetheart, Aaliyah, and together they have 3 children, Hannah, Zealand, and Eden. They live on their family farm in Bremen, Georgia, where they grew up. Together, they've raised their 3 children, lived outside the country, and been on numerous mission trips. We'll talk about those, Brett's history with motorcycles, and even about his time working inside the industry. I'm really looking forward to this one, so it's time for me to say, Brett, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Craig. I appreciate you having me on today, man.
Yeah, I know you're at work, I'm at work, so if interruptions happen, they happen, but I want to appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to join me here for episode 10.
Absolutely, man. Couldn't, actually not at work today. We took Good Friday off, so I'm sitting at the home locked in my truck away from the kids at the moment.
So, yes, we are recording. Today is Good Friday, and I didn't realize you had the day off, but it's crazy. You have to lock yourself in the truck to get away from the kids. That's funny.
Well, you know, it can be a bit rowdy. 3 of them from 11 to 6, it gets a bit crazy. So if you don't get away and lock yourself, it can get loud and a bit wild.
Yeah, I bet. That's funny. So we'll get to your kids in a little bit. You sent me a bio. It was actually quite detailed. Thank you for that. There's a lot of stuff in there. One thing I didn't see, after high school, you went to college. What did you go to college for?
A business degree. I actually, Aaliyah and I started dating years ago, which I'm sure you'll talk about more, but we went down to Auburn, and she went to Auburn University, and I went up the road to Southern Union to a 2-year school, chasing a business degree. I knew, years before that business was something that I wanted to chase and create. So that's what I went after straight out of high school.
2 years. I didn't realize that. And that leads me right into this. Your wife, you guys are high school sweethearts. Talk about that.
Yeah, man. It's one of those stories you don't hear quite as often anymore, just because there's so much going on in the world and things that you can do now differently from decades ago. But we grew up together from kindergarten on, and started dating in high school our end of our sophomore year. So then from then on, we've been together from 16 up to today at 33. So spent many years together and around each other our entire lives. After high school, we went off to college, and then 2 years into college, we went ahead and got married at 20. And I began a professional life, and she finished up her 4 years at Auburn and got an education degree, and the rest is kind of history.
So she got an education degree, so she's a licensed teacher?
She is. She hasn't used it in the public school system per se, but she started off chasing nursing. And you never know what twists and turns in life will bring you. And after the first year, she just kind of felt a heart change and started pursuing education. And so that's how she finished her degree with an education degree. And then, a couple of years later, we have our own kids, and twists and turns of life have brought us to homeschooling all 3 of them, actually. So she's using a degree that's beneficial to her, just not in the school system. So
reading your bio, the kids, you talk about having 3 kids. Tell us their ages. Hannah's the oldest, right?
Yeah, so it's actually Sydney Hannah. Well, she has 2 names, I guess. Kind of an odd thing, but that's what my wife wanted to chase after. So Sydney Hannah's 11, Zealand is 8, and Eden, my youngest, is 6. And all 3 are homeschooled by her.
So I didn't realize that till I was reading the bio, how long we've known each other. Because I remember talking about travels, and it was that time where you would have put Sydney Hannah into school, and you were really wondering about the homeschooling thing. And I remember talking about that. I think we were either in Daytona or Sturgis when we had that conversation. Do you remember that?
It was probably Sturgis, honestly. That would have been, the start of the school year. Her first year, where, she could go to public school in kindergarten, she actually went to public school for the first year. And then as it progressed, because of our travel and my work life, I was spending too much time away and didn't like being away from the family. And so that was kind of the introduction into, well, what about this homeschool idea? And neither of us had experienced that in any level. So it was a new thing to us. But the more that we started reading into it and just the freedom that it brought to our family, that's the reason that we jumped off into it. And I don't know that my wife has any ideas of changing.
I don't know. I mean, what's crazy is you're homeschooling, but you have a licensed teacher doing the job. That's got to be
right.
pretty rare too.
Yeah, I don't know how many, statistically how that happens, or often, but it does. It works out great. Obviously mothers and their voice into kids' lives is super super important. So I can't imagine that any different now. But then you do have a background in education and a degree in it, so that just brings a whole nother level of confidence and comfort to me as a dad, that I have not only my wife and mother to my kids, teaching them every day what we want life to look like, but also has a background in education. So it's a win-win for sure.
Absolutely. I remember you talking about this because the school system doesn't allow them so much time off. They say they have to be in class when you can prove that you're teaching them more on the road when you leave for a couple weeks at a time. Then they're teaching them.
Sure.
I mean, they're learning more and in a variety
Absolutely.
of topics and subjects. So
Absolutely.
it's cool. I'm glad it's
Yeah,
working out.
it just gives them a different perspective of life for sure. And because we get to travel the country doing our job, they get to see all areas of the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast, and get to see a lot. And in that process, learn what life looks like, what hard work looks like, and what cultures in different part of the country looks like. So there's a lot of different things that they can pull and glean from when they're on the road, that they're not just getting taught, academics through a school book.
For sure. And I'm guessing that you also have all these relatable incidents to use as teaching moments when it comes time that you get to help out too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I traditionally fall into the fun zone, right? So she gets to do all the nitty gritty, and traditionally when I get to fall into the schoolroom, if you will, it's normally doing something fun. Different parts of the country we've done, history in Sturgis, and crab hunting and different things, to Fish World and things like that, and Ocean City, Maryland, and just different things that you get in all the different places in the country that we get to visit. And so there's a lot of things that they get to see that your average kid does not, based on the choices that we've made.
I didn't think we'd go that far into it, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Because when you go and you're teaching Sturgis, I think you guys stay down by Deadwood.
That's right.
Is that the history you teach them of kind of that area? Here's what happened here, and here's how that shaped things.
Well, there's definitely aspects of that for sure. We buy curriculums, and we actually invest in 3 of them each year, and it kind of some is more structured than others, and but inside of those curriculums, obviously there's baseline things that you kind of go off of, and my wife, because of the age difference, she has to pull a little bit, more for my 11-year-old than she does the 6-year-old, obviously, but it absolutely allows for that time to speak specifically to an area in our country, or in U.S. history and things like that she can really focus in on while you're in those areas. But curriculum there's still guidelines to some of those things that just keep them on track, for a school year. But absolutely, when you go to the different parts of the country, there's points that you can bring out that may not be in line with what they're learning in that that season. But it gives you the chance to bring it up, to bring it in. It may not be a focus for the rest of the year, but it's a focus for the 17 days that we're in Sturgis. So there's things like that allow the freedom that comes with homeschool. Is that in her opinion is it allows for the freedom to flow, right? It's not based on a standardized test they have to teach to or anything like that. It's just really chasing after life. And then it gives you the freedom to, hey, I've got a 2-week window here that we can focus in on this part of history of America, or whatever the case may be. And so you can get off of the books and really focus on that for those couple weeks or couple days, and then jump right back into curriculum once you get back to the home or whatever. So it just allows much more free in how you chase life.
I can only imagine. I'm a lot jealous now that I didn't do the same thing. But I don't have a licensed educator's degree, so. That's
It definitely,
really cool.
it's definitely growing. That community of homeschoolers just in our area. They have a local meeting every week with a cell of people that they meet with on a weekly basis. So they're still getting a lot of time with people and other kids their ages and things like that. So that community just in our local area is growing tremendously. But around the world, honestly, I mean, the statistics are going out the roof right now for homeschooling with some of the things that are taking place in the world. So locally, our community is growing fairly heavy and large, and so they have a small group meeting that's a couple families every single week, and then once a month they get together. I think with about 30 families, and meet at a local assembly and get together and hang out and do school activities and PE and all the fun things and art and different things. So they're around people pretty consistently just for the school part of life.
That's really cool. Going back to your story, when you, and we'll touch back on the kids here, I'm sure. Going back to your story, I should say, after college, you had noted that you lived outside of the country for a while. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So Aaliyah and I had an opportunity, her last semester getting an education degree. You could do your, study teaching or the student teaching, I should say, abroad. And so the opportunity came, and us being adventurous, we wanted to chase that and use that season as an opportunity to go see something else. So Leah and I spent 6 months of the last semester of her school in New Zealand, and so we went over there in January, which happened to be their summertime, and a fantastic time to spend over in that country, in that part of the world. So we went in January, came home sometime May, so almost 6 months, and just really soaked it up. She went to school every day in the classroom doing the teacher thing for a couple months, and on the weekends we would get out and about and explore the country. And spent most of our time on the North Island of New Zealand, but did take a 2-week break for something they just consider it kind of like a spring break deal. We went on the South Island and rented a little van and started at the top of the South Island and traveled down to the bottom of it, just exploring for 2 weeks, and then flew back to the North Island and finished it up. But just got to experience that culture and that country, and just absolutely fell in love with it, fell in love with the people, and actually named my son after that country and that time that we got to spend there. So it was a really, really good growth period for Aaliyah and I. And got to see something completely different that oftentimes people don't get to experience. So something that we treasure for sure.
Absolutely. So one thing you said is that she worked every day teaching. What did you do?
Well, I started out just being a bum, honestly. We had
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we had an apartment there in downtown Auckland, which is the main city there. And for about a week or two, it was okay. It was an extended vacation. But then boredom started to come in because she wasn't around, so I didn't go explore because we wanted to do that together, and so we used our weekends for that. But once that started setting in, I actually just started volunteering at the school. So I would go into the same grade that she was in, and just did whatever the teachers, however I could be helpful. So some days I would spend working with kids doing math. Some days we would do reading, just playing in the field. They spent a lot of time in New Zealand culture, I guess, inside of their school system. They do a lot of outdoor activity, even just classroom activity outside instead of inside of a building. So just however I could help. So the majority of the trip, I went 3 days a week and would go and just help out however I could. And sometimes that looked like play, and sometimes that looked like instruction. But just got to see how they did life as well.
So that gives you a little education background as well.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
By no means educated there, but had a good time being around that setting and what that looks like, and how they do it compared to what I grew up in, and different things like that. So you can really grow and develop, seeing how other people do it.
For sure. Did you also say in your bio, and I'm wondering if this is where it came from, but I'm guessing not, but your wife is a photographer?
She is. So she owns her own photography business, and for many years when the kids were younger, she really, really chased it hard. Obviously, time allowed more. Since kids are to the age now where school is important, it's slowed down a bit just out of necessity. But she still does it. She still makes a fair living at it, to be honest. And she could have a really, really strong business if she pursued it. She just doesn't have quite as much time now that she's teaching 3 kids how to do life.
Sure. Another thing, so you guys have traveled quite a bit, which is cool. You know, we work in an industry that lets us do that. I always say I'm one of the luckiest people alive, and you'd probably attest to that for what we get to do. We kind of go stand on parking lots and talk about motorcycles all day. But
That's right.
in the winter, you don't do that. So what's your annual trip? Tell us about that.
Yeah, man. So because of our scheduling and where we are in life and the freedom that we have, owning, in ownership of both of our own businesses, it allows us some freedom to do it. So we spend, I guess this will be year 6, going to Utah, which is our favorite state in the country, and there's just so much adventure out there, and we love the mountains. We take the whole month off, set it aside, and it's just a time for us to be completely present to the kids, maybe a dad and a husband, and just really be present to each other for a couple weeks. And enjoy the mountains. It's kind of funny being from Georgia. You don't really hear often that you have a passion for skiing, snow skiing, and being from where we're from. But we started doing it when we were young. My wife started at age 3, and so once we started dating, I started going on trips and fell in love with the mountains and have a passion for skiing and absolutely just love it. And so we take the whole month of January off, and it's a slower month for the motorcycle industry. Most bikes are parked. Obviously the business is still rolling and we manufacture parts consistently, but it allows me to kind of take a step back and be present completely to the family and act as almost a reset for us so that we can kind of get geared back up for the new year and start the year pretty much in March, hitting the road again and doing all the events across the country. So that's something that we've started and for, I don't know if I'll ever stop it as long as I can. It's just, it's a really, really good couple weeks where we can, enjoy each other's company, but doing something that all 5 of us absolutely love. And we started our kids out on skis, 2.5 years old. All 3 of them are really good skiers today. So it's something that we can do together and absolutely love it.
That's great. I was looking at the ages of your kids quick. You're probably done then at this point. You said 5 of us, and I'm like, wait, is there going to be 6? Is there going to be 7?
Heck no. We've reached that step and took the measures to make sure that doesn't happen again. So there's no intention there. Who knows what God has for us. She's always pushing for more, but I've taken the precautions to make sure that doesn't take place. So right now, and where we're at, we're happy with the 5 that we've got, and it works really well for us. No, I have no intention to do another, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, and the age you're at, which is really cool, as your kids get older, you're getting older as well, but when your youngest is ready to move out, you and the wife are still young enough to go and enjoy
Absolutely.
life with the 2 of you. You'll still be young enough. You'll have the energy.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
That was kind of on purpose. Not that we get to decide everything clearly, but that was an intentional thing. I wanted to be done at 25. And she wasn't quite done. So Eden came along, a year or 2 after. But that was definitely intention. I wanted to be of age where we could really enjoy life and do it with them. So that's what we prioritize. And part of our history is our kids and showing them the most out of life that we can when we all can enjoy it. So that's definitely something that we've chased.
Any younger listeners should be paying attention to that right there. When you go to Utah, do you own a place out there? Do you rent? Do you stay at a resort?
We stay in Heber City, which is just a valley on the other side of Park City. And it's a valley we fell in love with, and maybe one day we will have a place out there, and it's definitely a goal of ours. But no, I've gotten really lucky and found a family in Florida who has a home, and I guess this will be, I think, my 5th year in this particular rental, but it's just in the neighborhood in the valley there, and it's a nice big home that we can all enjoy and doesn't break the bank. And so we honestly found it. And it's a really lucky situation that the housing, my rental is super, super cheap. Most families couldn't go out there and stay in a place for a week for what my investment is for a month. So it's really, really worked out to our advantage. And I've kept in contact. I found the home through VRBO, but have since built a relationship with the lady and communicate fairly frequent. She's in Orlando full time, but she only spends a couple weeks a year in this house. I don't know if it was just an investment for her or what, but it works out great for me. So I hope it stays around as long as we continue to do it anyway.
It's nice to get those relationships with people where not only are you saving some money, but you're obviously leaving the place decent. So now she knows she trusts you, and now, you guys just know that You're always going back to the same place. She knows you're coming. That's really kind
That's
of
right.
nice.
Yeah, it worked out really, really well.
Let's talk about bikes. I think you said you got your first one at 16, but how did you first get into riding? Did your parents ride?
Yeah, so growing up, I was on dirt bikes my whole life. I think I got my first one maybe at 10, but I really loved it. My mom would never let me race one, but I was always around them, and it could even go to the track some. So I was on two wheels for the majority of my life. But my dad, once I started getting my teenage years, got on the Harleys. And just fell in love with the culture and the freedom that comes. And so I can remember at 15, I have an older brother, and he was on one, and my dad was on one, and their whole group of friends, and they took off, and I was so super jealous that that I was having to stay back and didn't have a bike, nor could I ride one by myself at that point on the road legally. So I can just remember sitting back and seeing those guys take off and being like, man, I'm getting that. As soon as I have the opportunity, I'm getting my own motorcycle. And I'm going to go enjoy this with them. So at 16, I had started working for a company that was in the industry, doing OEM work for the motor company. And so at 16, as soon as I got my license, we drove up to a dealership in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and picked up my first one. And it's been history since. I haven't gone any years without a bike since. So I've been around the majority of my life, my whole adult life. Just fell in love with Harley and what comes with owning one, the brotherhood that comes with that, and just the freedom you get when you're on the road by yourself or with a group of people. There's just a brotherhood there that honestly it doesn't compare to a lot of different things. It's something special.
It really is, and I don't think if you're not a person that rides, it just doesn't make sense. 'Cause I don't even know how you explain it to people.
It doesn't, and I think I actually owned a shirt, and as cliche as it sounds, but it says something about if you have to explain it, you won't understand kind of thing, and it is one of those things, as cliche as it may sound, is if you've never been on a bike, and it doesn't have to be a Harley, it could be any two wheel bike. If you haven't ridden one, it's hard to understand what it does to you once you get on one, and the freedom that you feel when you're on the open road. So it really is something special.
I completely agree. I don't think you told us what that first bike was. So what was that one? Well, let's go all the way back. Your very first bike. Do you remember that bike?
Yeah, so I started off on an XR70, Honda XR. Again, my mom wasn't a big fan of them at all. So I never actually got a two-stroke or a race bike. But my XRs, I stayed on those all the way up. A trail bike, but I pushed it to the max. So I was on the track with a trail bike, breaking cases and the whole deal, just, destroying the bike because I wanted to push it as hard as it would go. But my mom would never, ever let me get on a race bike. So I had to make the most of what I had, and that's what I did. So I got XR70 started, and I just kind of progressed up. And currently still have a Honda. I have an XR250 now that I ride with all three of my kids, so they all have Hondas. I've got a 50, a 110, and a 125 in our garage that we do as a family now. So been pretty lucky in that regard.
Do you have places on? So one of your things, you said you live on the family farm. How much property
That's
do you
right.
have? Do you do all your riding there? Or do you have other places you can go where you're at?
We do. So we live on 140 acres, 100 on our side of the road, and my wife, my mother lives on the other side on 40. So there's a little more land on that side. But we have nice large pastures here that we can get out and enjoy. But there's a place called Highland Park just up the road that a park that has a couple tracks, and hundreds of miles of trail, and so you can go out there and spend a lot of time with the kids. My middle, is who rides the most. But I got my oldest Sydney a bike when she turned 5, and that one's still the XR50 that Eden is riding today. But she got a 125 for Christmas, and so now all of us we get to spend time together, beating around the farm and spending time at the Highland Park. So it's something fun for us to get into.
So if any one of them decide that they wanted to start racing, what's your stance on that?
No, I would be completely open to it. I actually, for a short season, we bought Zealand a KTM 65. It was a little bit large, and it was one of those that we just found that was a good deal. So I purchased it and got him on it. That was his first bike with a clutch, so he got to learn that process. And the bike was just troublesome. It was like every time you turned around, we would put a highlight, and it was, something was falling apart. We rebuild motors. It was just something every time we went. So after that, I bought him a new Honda, the 110, and haven't gotten back into the race bike world. But if he came to me tomorrow and was stoked and turned up on it, I would absolutely, we would jump in full board for sure.
Cool. Yeah, you learn a lot on a racetrack for sure. I mean, and what a great idea having all three of the kids on bikes. I'm all for that. I'm sure you know
get them
by
started
now.
young, man.
Yeah, makes them better riders on the road, because I have to assume they're going to start riding on the road too, considering you own the handlebar,
I sure hope.
or you're part of the handlebar factory.
I sure hope so, man. They're around the industry because of our work, and so they see us on the bikes all the time. Zealand is eating it up right now as a young, as an 8-year-old. So I can only hope that when he gets of age, that we'll be riding down the open road together. I can remember when we first got him on the 50 here on the farm, and he was just out and about riding, and I could sit back and see him going, and there was something there. It turns on the inside and excites you when you see and you can think, for the future. Not that you want to rush to now, but I could just could see us, spending a lot of time together, developing our relationship as it gets older, and it's something that you can do, well up into age. So something that you can do for a really long time together. So there's a lot of excitement there, and hopefully they'll continue to like them and to be around them.
Does your wife ride?
She doesn't. When we first got married, she would ride on the back of mine, but she's never ridden one herself, and she really just doesn't have a desire to. Since the kids have been born, she hasn't been on the back of mine. She obviously likes them and has no problem with them, but just no interest in her being on one herself. So right now, no, she's not. But who knows, man? When all four of us leave, and I'm sure there's something on the inside wishing that she was with us. But there's probably another sense on the inside that she's getting to hang out and have some quiet time alone. So who knows what that looks like.
Well, there might be something said to that too. But how That's cool right. is it, though, when you throw on your helmet and then you take off down the trail and you got 3 kids ahead of you leading the way?
It is fun. It is super fun, man. There's really not. It kind of goes back to the motorcycle just culture in general. Really not a whole lot like it, and there's nerves on this side of it as a parent now, and trying to keep up with 3 of them, and some pushing the envelope more than others. But there's nothing like it, man. It's super super fun.
It is, and as long as they're protected, do what you can. I mean, they're pretty durable. Kids are, of course, mine.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not one of those who's going to live in fear. We're going to go and adventure as hard as we can, and if that looks like on 2 wheels, then that's what we'll do. And have a big time at life. And, you're not granted tomorrow. So whatever that looks like, let's go have fun.
Yeah, for sure. Leading to the road, once you turned 16, bought that Harley, what was it? What'd you buy? And what's the progression of bikes? So what you got now?
So the first one was a Sportster. I bought an 883 Custom. It was an 05 model. So for the first about 3, I believe, were all 3 Sportsters. And honestly, to today, I mean, I absolutely love Sportsters. I think they're just a raw, rigid bike that you can have a lot of fun on. Obviously, you can't carry a lot of things on them, but just when I think of Harley myself, and it may be because that's what I started on, but a Sportster comes into it. There's not a whole lot of frills to them. It's a motor and 2 wheels and a frame riding down the road, and you can have just as much fun on one of those as you can the new touring bike. You just can't carry as much stuff with you in the process. But so I went from the first 3 bikes. I stayed on Sportsters, and then in 2015 I bought my first touring bike, which is a new Road Glide. Once they released, they skipped a year from 13 to 15 on the Road Glide platform, and recreated some things. And so on 15 I got my first Road Glide, and today I'm still on the Road Glide. It's a little newer model, but still riding the Road Glide today. But we have a Street Glide as well. I'm just not quite as big a fan myself. I personally lean to taking out the Road Glide every time I have the opportunity and enjoying the open road on that.
When you get the opportunity, how often does that happen? How many miles a year are you putting on bikes?
Not near enough, especially with what life looks like. I mean, as the kids have gotten older, obviously activities take place. They're involved in athletics and all the things that looks like. But so I don't spend as much time. Honestly, the time that I spend on bikes is traditionally at the events. When we're all over the country, I like to spend some time on the bike when we're in Sturgis, because the landscape is so diverse and something different to look at. But I don't know how many miles. Not near enough, I can tell you that. But at the events is where I spend most of my time on the motorcycle, because when we're at home, we're either chasing business or chasing the kids. So it doesn't allow for as much as I'd like for it to be.
Sure. You mentioned riding in Sturgis. What a lot of people don't realize is when we're working all day, when we get to ride, I'm sure you ride in the morning.
That's right.
Just perfect, cool, crisp
That's
air,
right.
and almost nobody is up as early as we are riding.
That's exactly right. You can kind of have the roads to yourself. All the activities or people are still in bed and things like that. So you're getting up when the sun's coming up, making your trek. And for us, we have two locations out there. One in Sturgis at the JMP Cycles location, and then we also have one at Black Hills Harley. And so we've got about an hour and 10-minute drive every morning in from actually the other side of Deadwood into to Rapid City. So you get to drive up the canyon there, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Sun's coming up. The air is fantastic. Just really, really, really good mornings to refresh your mind after you're about to get hammered by the population that's showing up for the rally. So
I always think when I'm riding out there, typically it's usually just a couple of us because we stay in Rapid, and of course we'll take the back roads to Sturgis because same thing. I mean, we're damn near set up right next to each other at both locations. But that ride, there's a certain sound that a Harley makes. I've never heard it on another bike, and I think it's just because it's a twin, but you'll get it. As soon as you start to go up those hills, and there's like the load increase on the engine, you get that little snap out of the exhaust. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. There's a growl that comes from it for sure.
Yes, and it's like very distinct, and it's especially loud out there, which not loud in volume, but you can really hear it because there's so much silence. The air is nice and thick and cold. It's just that sound makes me smile every single morning. I absolutely love riding out there. We'll have to get together this year and ride before work. It never even dawned on me that everybody just quick, when you get done, you tear down, you go eat and you go back to bed, but we'll have to do the sunrise, get up and meet somewhere like Hill City and then ride up to one of the locations.
Yeah, so we're actually staying toward Hill City, so that may be a fantastic fit for us. We changed houses, we continue to grow and bring more bodies out there with us to handle the two different locations. So we're actually staying out toward Hill City this year, and so it may be something great for both of us to get out and enjoy. You get such the grind of the daily during the event. It's a hammer down, head down, just go at it hard for 15, 16 days. So it's definitely needed to clear your mind before the next day starts. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's great. That's kind of it's so funny because we kind of rotate the staff, and that's just for that, so people the other guys can ride in the mornings because we're 5 minutes from the Black Hills Harley dealer in Rapid, but we're an hour from Sturgis if you take the back roads. So, and there's a couple different routes that you can take too, that either it's an hour or it's an hour and a half. We usually try to rotate and send out the crew different days to go to Sturgis so they get to ride as well.
That's right.
Your professional life, you went to school for business, is what you said.
Yep.
KST. Can you talk about the company in between, or is that a no-go zone?
I
know the story, but I don't know what can be shared, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't for the base viewer, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, the reality is I started out at 16 with a company that was manufacturing parts for the motor company, and so that just kind of spun the idea even more, and my passion for motorcycles. So I worked there through in high school, I was on a program where I could leave and go to work. And so I did that while I was in high school. And then we went to college and breaks and things that allowed me to go back to work. And then I came there full time after school. Once we got done with college and my wife graduated, we moved back to our hometown, and I started working there full time. And so then spent a couple years, 2 or 3 years in a quality control job. And that allowed me just to see the whole product line and all the part process and new product development and just the whole gamut of the business. And so then in 2012, we split off and started our own company. And KST Enterprises is the name of it. And we have our own private label brand in the motorcycle industry that offers parts to Indian and Harley Davidson models across all platforms. So we started that in 2012, and a decade later, February, here we are still hammered down in the industry and trying to learn every day and continue to grow that business into something successful.
It's been really cool to watch too, because Like I said, we pretty much met as soon as KST started. I want to say
That's
it was
right.
the same year, actually, but I could be off
That's right.
there.
Our first year we March. So we started in February, and in March we were trying to figure out how to create a brand and what that looked like, and created a relationship with J&P Cycles, and cultivated that, and started doing events that March. So it was probably that year that we met, very first year in Daytona, set up in the same spot that we still set up in today, and just keep growing and developing new products to be relevant in the industry.
Wasn't your first tent a 10 by 10? Or was it
It was
20?
a 20 by 10.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a 20 by 10 to start. It was quite embarrassing, honestly, when you look back on it, but that's just what it looks like to start a new business, right?
It
We
is.
didn't know what that looked like, and that was our first event. So what it looked like then and what it looked like now is completely different, and which is a good thing, because that just shows growth, over 10 years, and chasing business and that life. So it was quite something to see to start with, that's for sure.
It's been really fun to watch. I'm super proud of you guys. It's great. And what's really cool is now I'm a podcast listener. I listen to all kinds of different ones. I hear your guys' names being mentioned on a bunch of different ones too, and it's not advertisement money. It's people talking
Sure.
about your stuff, which is what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems that our customer base, continually grows. Our dealer network continually grows, and we've made a huge emphasis on, the events, and the value that an event brings to a company in our industry, for sure, is very, very important, because it's in front of the consumer consistently. And so life's about relationships. And so you get to be in front of the consumer at each event all over the country, touching different demographics, just people groups all over the country that have, one passion that's similar, right? And so the motorcycle industry, again, to go back to what we spoke on earlier, it just allows for so many people to get brought into something with different lives, period, to come together and enjoy something as one. And so we really do enjoy the industry and the people that we meet, and people like you that have similar stories, that are chasing the same deal, and that's providing a better life for our families, but doing it in something that we enjoy, and something that we've been around our whole lives. So it's really fun to see.
It is. Talking about growth and the things that have changed, there was a new addition to the team this year that I saw, that I got to meet down there. Tell us about that guy.
Yeah, man. So my dad joined the team in January. He actually started while I was in Utah, but he'd been in the car business for 40 plus years. And honestly, at that age where it's close to, like, man, I kind of want to hang it up, and started, enjoying. He's purchased him a farm, and they're doing that life now. But anyway, January, he was kind of transitioning from the car business, and been in sales his whole life. And we were in a position as a company where we were looking for a salesman on the road full time. And so it was really cool. And the opportunity came where it fit, both of our lives at the time. So he came on board in January, and he's actually in Colorado this week, visiting dealers as we speak. So it's been really, really cool to get him on board, and kind of show him professionally what that looks like in my world, and have him a part of our lives, in the business realm. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that turns into. It's been a fun start, obviously, only a few months in now, but he's seeing the rally world, and what that looks like. And I think Daytona was quite eye-opening for him to see, what that looks like, and the amount of work that we get put out in, a couple of days. So it's been fun. We'll see how long, I don't know that he'll be there for many, many, many years, but we'll see. He's having a good time. It's something completely different, but still doing sales. So really looking forward to what that comes.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned there, it's cool that he gets to see what you do. I don't know. Have you met my dad in Sturgis? Did you meet him?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay.
I did.
So,
yeah.
Then maybe I already told you this story, but I'll share this with the listeners. But when we're kids, like 14, 15, 16, you get your first job, and typically it's at a restaurant. I think mine was at a pizza place. But your parents come there to see you, and it's kind of embarrassing, and it's like, I don't want, go away, I don't want you seeing me here, that kind of thing. 2 Sturgis events ago, so 2020, he kind of expressed some interest to come out, and I thought that was really cool, because he's never seen me, similar to you, he's never seen me doing what I do now, and it was It was a treat. I absolutely loved it. And he had a good time, so he came back last year. So I can relate
Yeah.
to your statement there because it's very cool. It's hard to explain it to somebody that hasn't had this opportunity. But hopefully your dad
Hmm.
sticks around and hopefully mine keeps coming because I know same thing. He's a sales guy and he seems to enjoy it. He's talking to a lot of people. Everybody in the motorcycle world's pretty laid back, and I think your dad would attest to this coming from the car dealership. We don't talk to too many people that are upset.
That's right. Yeah, traditionally they're excited about because it's one of the things. I mean, there's guys that this is their life, right? Motorcycles, they don't even own a vehicle, but that is their transportation. And so when you get to make improvements and add parts that bring joy to their life, having conversations with our team, we got 30 plus employees. It's really really fun to try to communicate and relay the joy that brings. And such sometimes it can seem really silly that we're making a handlebar for a motorcycle, but to see the smiles and the joy that people get once it's installed and they get to ride it down the road, the comfort that it brings. And so there's a lot of things that seem silly and maybe some folks' eyes, but to see that excitement at an event again in front of the consumer and get to have fun, and it's vacation for them, so they're having a big time. And that's one part of the rally that you can get lost real quick if you're not careful, because it's such a grind. But if you'll sit back and pay attention to just the smiles of people having fun, that's a big value added in the rally business for sure.
I don't think I could have said that better myself. Perfectly
Yeah,
said.
it's something that can get lost quickly, and right now where joy is hard to find in areas, being in the industry that you enjoy. And around customers, something that they're passionate about, and improvements they're making to their motorcycles through parts of like our own or yours or just any of the guys on the rally circuit. They're making improvements and making it their own, and so you get to be a part of that, and it can get lost real quick. So I try to relay that to our team members back at the shop, that it's super super important to make sure that you're putting out a really good product, and each step builds on the next, and because it's bringing joy to somebody's life, and if you'll do it, and take ownership in your particular, be the right brick in the wall that holds it together, it goes a long way and can make people smile, and it'll just change your attitude when you're at work on a daily basis doing the same thing over and over again. So it's really fun.
Absolutely. I will try to relay that message to my team as well. I don't think we do too bad where we're at. We do different things that we try to do. In my world, it's like we don't sell chrome, we don't sell blinky lights, we don't sell shiny nothing. We sell a
Yeah,
product that people don't usually want to admit they need. So that's kind of our rule
but
of
makes a
thumb is
difference.
we provide the experience when they come and see us that makes them remember who we are. And
That's right.
I'm sure just like you guys, you probably I do. People walk up to your tent and they tell you how much your product changed their life.
That's right.
Those
Yeah,
stories, when
and
brought back to the shop, make a huge difference.
absolutely. And ours not much different, honestly. I mean, you're sitting on yours, which can bring a ton of comfort, right? And can change your experience on the bike, especially on a long haul. So super super important. As well as a handlebar, there's some aesthetics that go into it, and it changes the look and appearance of your motorcycle. But at the end of the day, we're making products that improve their experience, right? And so that experience is important, and how they can get down the road. And so, ergonomics and things like that come in with a handlebar. We often have guys, every single event talk about, changing their parts, changing their handlebars, and the comfort that it brings them to allow to be able to ride longer and enjoy more. So it goes hand in hand. They're super similar in that aspect of it's bringing comfort so that they can enjoy their time on the bike, that much longer. So it's really, really fun.
It is. And we send a lot of people your way because, they'll stop by our tent, look for, like they have back issues or, a pain right between the shoulder blades. And I'll be like, come with me, walk them right over to your tent and say, this is what you need. It's crazy.
That's right.
Had I not experienced that, I would have never known that that's where the pain come from. But yeah, getting your bars in a comfortable position, which people always ask me, how do you ride with those things so high? And then they sit on it and go, oh, wow, that's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, when you can relax the shoulder blades and really sit back and get comfortable, it can really change the ride. A lot of leverage and things that get into play. So can definitely make a big difference. And so that's what we've tried to sell to our team, is that the little things make a big difference, and putting smile on faces is important. That's one thing that we've done well decade into business now, is just really servicing the customer and keeping them in mind. And, the joy that comes with that.
For sure. I was just scrolling through my notes here. It looks like I've touched on about everything. I did not touch on the Honduras mission trips. How many of those have you gone on? Tell us about those. And do the kids go with?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We try to do it all together. I don't do many trips without my kids, and there's multiple reasons for that. Just showing them what that looks like in the different cultures that we get to experience, and in different faces is what that looks like. And so Honduras has been one of those things that we've got tagged with a local ministry here that we're connected to that has a mission home and ministry in Honduras, and so. I think we've done 5 trips now down. We try to do 2 a year, one in the spring, one in the fall, and really just go see, how we can improve these people's lives. It's, I try to relay the message to our kids that obviously we're blessed to be a blessing. And when we have the opportunity, let's go share that with other people, and whether that be in our own country or in Honduras, which is where we found ourselves and falling in love with the people there, that we can have a lasting impact on their lives. And so our kids have seen it from the beginning. I haven't done a trip without them, and so I've started at 3 years old, I think was the first trip with my youngest, and so they've got to see what that looks like. And we go over and build homes for families and do feeding centers and just all kind of different ministries, just to show the love of Christ to them. And really just love on them, just show them that they matter and that people do care for them, and also learn from them, because there's a lot to learn from that people group. There's so much joy in their smiles, right? When we have the opportunity to share love with them and that be reciprocated. And there's so much to learn about their life and the simple way of living that they do, just out of necessity. Industry is not a thing there, and so they don't have the opportunities that we have here in America. And so when you're relaying that to your children, and showing them that, we are blessed that we live in America and have an opportunity. So let's make the most of it. And when we make the most of it, we're able to give back to the less fortunate financially. But we have just as much to get out of that when we go over and share just a smile and show somebody that they matter and that they're loved. So it's something that we've prioritized and will continue to prioritize, because that's what the world needs, that's for sure. And you got to teach the youth now, because the way the world looks now, it can be cruel and mean and all the negative things that you see. But when you go over there and you get to share the love and they get to see it firsthand and experience it and be a part of it, not just watch mom and dad do it, but they get to love on the kids, and they get to hand a family a food bag that's going to supply them for a week's worth of food while we're out and giving them food. They get to be a part of that, so it's something that they learn to do, and it just becomes firsthand to them. So we put a lot of priority on trying to teach our kids that there's people that don't have as much, and we have a part of the answer, and just showing them that love is super, super important. So something that we'll keep chasing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that really gives them an opportunity to appreciate what they have
Absolutely.
here. So good on
Absolutely.
you. Goals? Do you have any 5-10 year goals for yourself, your family?
This is probably the questions that you were referring to.
No, this is not actually.
No, so
yourself, the family, or the business. I mean, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Just hammer down. Just keep it. Keep living generously. Just obviously continue to grow our business and develop it into something larger. Right. I mean, we're still scratching the surface. In a decade, we found ourselves into a profitable business, and it takes a lot of work and effort. But obviously, we want to continue to drive that and get better at that each day. I mean, that's why we're in it. Is to continue to grow and develop. And we have a family business, so we're not looking for an out. We want to continue to grow that and grow in our in our relationships with each other and doing business. We were talking about my dad being in business. I mean, ours is a family business completely. My father-in-law involved, my brother-in-law is involved. So it keeps us together. And some would run from that idea because sometimes that's difficult. And there are seasons of difficulty that come with that. But at the end of the day, we're doing it together, and it's a tight group that we get to spend a lot of time together and do it our way. And so that's been fun. So just continue to grow our business to be in the best it can be. Obviously, to travel and see the world just even more than we have. so that we get to experience the way of life that others do, and can grow to appreciate what we have. So definitely something that we're going to continue to prioritize. But if I set back for 5 years, I don't have a goal that's just black and white, other than just chasing life and chasing it hard, because you're not promised tomorrow. So we just continue to live it now, one step at a time in front of us, and really just live it to the best that we can.
That's cool. You've alluded to the questions. I've warned you about those.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Anything I missed? Anything you want to talk about? Anything you can think of?
I don't, man. This is my first time on one, and it's like we talked about right before we started. It's really cool to sit back and you ask for a bio, and you start, writing that out a bit, and writing out a bit of your own history is quite fun and enlightening to see where you've come to where you are now, and that's kind of what the bio is kind of laying out. And it's pretty exciting to realize how blessed you really are, and what you have, and the responsibility that you carry. And so it's really fun, but I don't have anything comes right offhand.
Okay, well, cool. So the project now for you has to be to sit down with your wife and say, how can we add to this? And let's just keep this on a file somewhere so the kids can look back at this.
That's right. This podcast will be something that's stored, because, again, it's just kind of taking a glimpse of where we've come from, and where we plan to go. And hopefully it continues to build and develop into to the perfect life, right? Just to a really, really, really good life, and something that they can all relate to as they grow and develop as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So my 5 questions, ask these on every show. You're admitted to not listening, so I'm not worried about you having any thought into these. I had to actually start changing questions because people now have planned answers, so I got to mix it up on them. But
I haven't done that, so you're going to get me right here.
The first question would be a belief, okay? So something you believe that other people think is insane.
It's a very good question. I mean, the way that we're raising our children, and not everybody thinks that it's insane, but I mean, there are definitely aspects of our life that we do differently, that some have hesitation toward, and how we chase after the most of life. And that looks like travel. That looks like the way we, are educating our kids. The way that we do life can look insane to some, not to all, but to some. But it's something that we feel like we're supposed to be doing, and doing it right. And it just, there's some things in life that you have questions about, and you're trying to figure out, and you just have to go off of the piece that you have inside of you. And that's one area that we feel like we're doing, the right thing, and really trying to raise up good quality kids that understand that again, we are blessed, and have an opportunity to be a blessing to others. So I would just say that some may think that the way that we've chose to raise our kids, and we have a home base, but we spend a ton of time out on the road, and we place high value on that. And so some would look at that and say, man, you're not consistency there. They're not in academics the way that most are, and things like that. We think we're doing it right, and the piece that we have inside of our our decisions tend to come forth. So we're happy with what the decisions we've made, for sure.
Yeah, as you should be. I like that one. The next question: what is the worst advice that you see or hear being dispensed in our world? Motorcycles. The world of motorcycles. The worst advice you see or hear being dispensed.
I mean, there's an element of people out there that think motorcycles too dangerous, or oftentimes not leaning on the motorcyclist, but on the traffic that's on the road and things like that. And I guess my argument or rebuttal to that would be the fact of again, where we came back to originally, is it's hard to explain the freedom that you feel on 2 wheels. And so I wouldn't be turned off to that. I would say to chase after that, the joy that comes with riding a motorcycle, and don't live scared, and really just go after it. See if it's something that you may find joy in.
So someone handing out advice, people always advise on everything. What would be the worst one that you've heard?
I don't know, Craig.
Or just bad advice that you hear commonly?
I don't know. You've got me stumped, to be honest. I don't hear too often too much negative in the motorcycle world.
So what comes to mind, like a
There's
lot of time, is people, they'll start asking advice for a first bike, and someone will tell them,
yeah,
just obnoxiously the wrong direction. You're like, wait a minute, this dude's never
yeah,
rode. He should not be on a road glide, or
yeah.
something like that. So I always like to see if anything comes to mind when I ask that question, because then I can not only check myself, like, am I telling people that, but also listeners can go, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. That doesn't make sense. If
Yeah,
you got
and
nothing,
there may be some advice from my handlebar business wise, where guys, there's plenty of folks out there that they look at our parts and they're turned off by the fact that, oh, this is an ape hanger, when oftentimes they're not a traditional ape hanger. And they may be turned away from the idea of, like you said, on your own personal bike, how do you ride them that high? Which is really not that bad of a advice maybe, but it comes down to, well, have you tried them, and the benefits that come with riding a mini ape or an ape hanger, if you will, and getting comfortable so that you have a relaxed back and shoulders, and the longevity that you can get by riding some of these, the leverage that you get in turns by using a taller bar than stock. So some of that could come into play for sure in that regard.
sure. Okay. Question number 3. Now, this could be an investment of time, money, energy, or any other resources. What is the best or most worthwhile investment you have made when it comes to your world with motorcycles?
So I guess I would start by saying, buying my first motorcycle, a financial investment that obviously it costs you money, but it's changed my life for the last, half of my life actually at 33. So almost half of my life. If I wouldn't have made that stand, would I be in the same position that I am today? And I don't know that yes is the answer. From the motorcycle side, that would definitely come into play. And then starting your own business can be scary, and the things that go with that. But you have to be really dedicated and hardworking and driven. Some of my background in athletics and wrestling gave me a mindset that it doesn't really matter how hard it gets. You just put your nose to the ground and go to work. And if you do it the right way, then right things will come. Doing just if you'll do it right, honest, then the good things follow. So you're really just putting your nose down and going to work every day and being creative and just doing it the right way. That would be an investing, into the motorcycle industry, in my opinion.
Sure. No, that's good advice in life.
That's right.
Speaking of good advice, I asked you what the worst advice you see or hear is. What is the best advice you have personally gotten as a motorcyclist?
I would say, as someone who rides a motorcycle, the best advice is, obviously, if you're riding the correct way and paying attention, is going to be paying attention to the drivers, to the other folks on the road. Oftentimes, I don't know real statistics, but I would lean to say most accidents happen based on, other drivers that create the accident. So just being aware and being, present while you're riding a motorcycle is super important, because you never know when somebody's going to pull out in front of you, or you don't know when somebody's going to turn over into your lane and things like that. So really just paying attention to the surroundings and making sure that you're keeping yourself safe.
For sure. And statistically, I would say you are correct, because I believe statistically most accidents happen at intersections when the motorcyclist is stopped. Did you know that?
That's right. No, I didn't, but I can definitely see it for sure.
Yeah, so pay attention to where you're stopped, and if you're directly behind a vehicle, or I usually try to be just off to the side. Yep. Last question, just simply asking if you have any asks or requests of my audience. So you can ask all of us for whatever comes to mind. If you have anything you'd like everybody to do, go ahead and ask it.
No, I don't know that I have any questions, man. I really don't. Maybe something that I could come to mind, and we do another one day. But I don't know that I have any questions.
Okay. Are you on Instagram, Facebook? Any social media that you want people following you on? You personally, or KST directly?
I don't do it personally. Just not a huge fan, but I understand the importance of it, and so we do have a KST Kustoms handle for Facebook and also Instagram, that you could go and check us out. We do a poor job at that, and that is definitely an area of improvement that we could change. But we do have both that you can go and check out. Some of our products and tags that we've done over the years.
So is it? It's at KST Kustoms,
That's right.
and there's no dashes or spaces or anything. And
It's not. It's customs with a K.
Yes. So KST Kustoms with a K on Instagram. That'll find you on Facebook too, I think.
That's right.
So I'll find that, and I'll put links in the show notes below so everybody can tag or can just click the links and go right to your pages. But that's about all I got. I think we're good. I think we've talked about everything. We've covered all the notes, folks. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. You can always go back and start from the beginning if you'd like to hear all the stories. You can follow the adventures on Facebook or Instagram by looking for @TheRealWildAss. And of course, I am Wild Ass Craig on all of the same social media outlets. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening, and we will see you again in a couple weeks. Of course, thank you again, Brett, for coming on. I appreciate your time. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate it. It was much more fun than I anticipated. Really enjoyed it, and always a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
Awesome. Thank you.